had met me in 2024, you would have seen a busy 23-year-old medical student focused on exams, friendships, and building a future I genuinely believed I could plan. In my spare time, I loved running, cooking, traveling, going to festivals, and being in the sea. But like many of us, I'd fallen into the habit of rushing through life, always thinking things would slow down later, always thinking there would be more time. Suddenly, everything changed overnight. Last January, I developed meningococcal septicemia, a rare but life-threatening infection of the blood with, in my case, the meningitis B bacteria. Within 12 hours, my heart stopped for 26 minutes, and my family were repeatedly told to prepare for the worst. After months of battling for my life, surgeons decided the best way to save me would be to amputate my already dead arms and legs. As I describe this, it still sounds like something that happened to someone else. Something distant, unimaginable, but it happened to me. And today I'm not here to tell you a story about loss. I want to share what this has taught me about strength, identity, and learning to cope when life doesn't go to plan. Because although I look very different physically, I'm still the same person, and I feel like I need to tell you that what happens to you does not have to define you. It's how you adapt to it that does. What if I were to tell you that in your early 20s you would suddenly become a quadruple amputee? Most people don't know what to do with that thought. I've noticed that disability makes people uncomfortable. It's not always obvious, and I must highlight this is only a minority of people I come across. But some stare, some avoid eye contact, some struggle to know what to say so much that they say nothing at all. And honestly, I can't blame them. I think that disability forces us to confront something that we spend our whole lives trying to avoid. The fact that this could happen to any one of us, that life is fragile, that our bodies are not permanent, and that independence is guaranteed. I think this is why disability is still an uncomfortable subject. Not because disabled people are uncomfortable to be around, but because it reflects something people don't want to imagine. But having a disability does not erase who you are. Yes, it forces you to adapt, of course, but I'm still adventurous when I can be. I still love nature. I love my family and friends, now more than ever, and I still care for others, even though that looks differently now. Mentally, I still feel like the same person I was before. That's actually part of the problem, because my brain wakes up every morning and tells me I can just roll out of bed and walk to the toilet. And then I remember I don't have feet. I have quite a dark sense of humour now. You're allowed to laugh, it's okay. So it's hard to describe what it's like to live in a body where your mind and your physical capabilities don't match. It's like your brain is stuck in the old version of your body. One of my most vivid memories from rehab so far is an occupational therapy session where I told my OT I really wanted to try and make a cheese and pickle sandwich. A really random craving that I remember having ever since progressing from being fed through a tube in my nose last year. I thought this was a fairly achievable task, something I would have done in 2 minutes whilst rushing to get ready for a hospital placement. But in reality, it felt like I challenged myself to climb Everest. Picture this. Firstly, I needed to manoeuvre my wheelchair in front of the fridge. Then I had to open the fridge, which sadly was not designed for somebody without fingers. Next, I needed to find the cheese, and of course it happened to be on the wrong shelf or just out of reach. Then I had to open the bread packet and the pickle jar, two things that were pretty challenging even when I had hands, even when I was blessed with hands. After all of that and some really questionable spreading, I remember sitting there thinking, look at me go, I'm independent now. And then I realised I hadn't actually thought about how I was going to get the sandwich to my mouth. Luckily, my lovely OT helped me cut it up into 8 tiny pieces, but when I finally lifted it to my mouth, an hour and a half later, the cheese fell out of the bread. This might sound like a minor thing, but it was definitely character building. it did make me think about how there's a fine line between determination and stubbornness. I've slowly accepted that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is accept help. We treat independence as the ultimate goal. I used to believe that too. I thought that needing help meant losing my dignity. And yes, it's hard to feel like a burden, but when your independence is taken away overnight, you see it differently. You realise that strength isn't just what you can do alone. Sometimes it's accepting care and trusting those around you. The truth is, I am so fortunate to be surrounded by an incredible community of people who genuinely care and want to help me. So I want to change people's thoughts about requiring help. It's not something to be ashamed of. In fact, I think it actually strengthens human connection, something that I fear we might be losing in the 21st century. So I'm not going to lie to you, moments in this journey have been incredibly challenging, to say the least. There have been moments that are heartbreaking for me and my loved ones, but there have also been moments which are absolutely hilarious. And for me personally, humour has been a powerful healing tool. One of the silver linings of having no hands is that it fully justified the need for a fancy toilet. You know the kind, heated toilet seat, an oscillating spray option, a lady mode. I still don't know what that is. Anyway, back in the early days when I wasn't sure how it works completely, one of my poor carers got absolutely soaked by the toilet shower. I remember hearing the noise that the toilet makes before it starts firing water at you, but before I could warn her, it shot at her like a fire hose, soaking her uniform, soaking the ceiling. When it finally stopped 20 seconds later, I was mortified. I expected her to be angry, but instead, we both ended up in stitches of laughter. This moment was key because it really made me feel human again. It reminded me that life can still be funny, even in tragic moments. Another huge part of adapting has been learning to deal with my new body image, because I'm still a young woman, and sadly we live in a society where we are continuously surrounded by edited pictures of unrealistic beauty standards. After a disease which has left scarring everywhere but my chest, I'm now living in a body which society might decide is wrong or ugly. I've slowly accepted that self-worth comes from knowing who you are and being proud of that person, rather than looking perfect. I've had to learn this in the most intense way possible. In March, I was really pleased when my skin grafts finally healed and I was allowed to go in the pool for the first time. After months of waiting, I'd expected to be really excited about this opportunity, but when the first session came around, I was filled with dread. And you'd think that after surviving what I've survived, you'd no longer sweat the small stuff, but I was overthinking everything, imagining how I'd look in a swimsuit, being hoisted into a pool, no longer being able to swim like I used to. I built it up in my head until it felt unbearable. The thing is, as soon as I got into the water, I had an overwhelming sense of freedom. I could float. For the first time in months, nothing was touching my body. No wheelchair, no pressure, no weight, no floor, just water. And I could swim. All of the insecurities faded away as I realised that feeling proud of what my body is capable of is way better than feeling sexy in a swimsuit. One of the most profound things about this experience is that it has taught me how unpredictable life is, because the worst thing that ever happened to me was something I never even worried about. It was sudden, it was random, and it changed everything instantly. So now, while I still worry about the small things, I try to think differently. I soak up every moment I get with my family. I enjoy the feeling of sunlight on my face. Laughing with my friends has never felt so good. I realise this time I have, time away from work, time away from studying, is such a privilege, but it has taught me something priceless, that these seemingly ordinary moments are not ordinary. In fact, I think they're what life's about, rather than all these big goals that we have a habit of striving towards. So yes, I'd like to say something about kindness as well. During my time in hospital, I saw extraordinary kindness. Hundreds of healthcare professionals fought tirelessly to keep me here, giving up time, weekends, nights with their own families to keep me alive. And even after discharge, I've been surrounded by a wonderful community of incredible carers, inspiring charity workers, and the best fitness coaches who've worked tirelessly to help me rebuild my strength and confidence. With all the negativity that society faces, it's these people, often underpaid, undervalued, and exhausted, who deserve so much respect. I wouldn't be the positive person I am today without the wonderful people around me, my family, my friends. The power of human connection is enormous. I want to urge anyone here today who feels lonely or like they don't have the right support system to know that you deserve one. You deserve people who show up for you, and asking for help is not weakness, it's how we survive. So yes, my life changed overnight, but I'm still me. And I need to tell you that what happens to you does not have to define you. It's how you adapt to it that does. If you take anything away from my talk today, don't save love for later. Don't wait to live your life. No one has unlimited time, and we don't know what's around the corner, but we do get to choose how we respond. Thank you.